Hi everyone, Zach here, and welcome to Lesson 16 in this series on developing a survival game. In this video, we'll address picking up items. By the end of this video, we'll be able to pick up our ItemMaster and see it in our inventory, or in particular in this case, our test item. In the next video, we'll refine this to be based on our item types in terms of having different children that we can pick up, and then in the next section of this series we'll address how we can use those children differently, as well as in the section after and after that. So we'll keep expanding from this as we move forward. This series and this video have been brought to you by my Patreon sponsors, and all that said, fire up your project and let's make a start. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the editor. In today's video, we're going to set it up so that we can actually pick up our items. So we're going to start with, we're going to have 7 steps total. There are some sub-steps in there, by the way. We're going to start by going to our project settings. And in our project settings, we're going to create a new input event. Our input events for this will be called harvest. So our harvest event, there'll be 2, one for keyboard and mouse, one for controller. For keyboard and mouse, we will use the E key. For controller, we will use gamepad, face button left. All right, again, remember you don't need to save this, you can just close it out. Now that we've done that, what we're going to do is add a new set of inputs. Sorry, not inputs, interface events and functions, and a new interface. So let's start with our inventory, and we are going to make a new one called trigger add item master. This one will have a set of inputs and outputs. I think it should be a wee bit obvious what these might be. If you don't remember, that's fine, but you should have a rough idea of what they're going to be. If you don't, they're the same as what we have in our add item master. So, I call this trigger. Yeah, we're gonna call it trigger. I'm gonna add this to a utility related category. And we're gonna have 2 inputs, and 2 outputs. The first one will be item class, and we are gonna carefully find BP item master. We are gonna find the class reference. The next will be item amount. So this is the amount to add. I am using a slightly different name, I realize. And then we'll have B, successfully added. If I spelled that wrong, meh. And then finally, amount remaining. We'll make that an integer. All right, I'm going to compile and save that. Next, we are going to create a new interface. So right click, blueprint interface, _item master. We're gonna pop this open. I'm gonna pin this into the correct window, and we're gonna create a trigger pickup object. This will have no inputs and no outputs. It will be an event though, clearly. I'm gonna just save that. And finally, I'm gonna go to my player character. So we are editing the 2 we already have and adding 1 in. I am going to add a new function called I for interface get inventory actor. This will have 1 return. It will be our inventory actor. It will be of type actor, even though we already have a hard reference loaded into our player character. We don't want to have an extra hard reference floating around, so we're going to use the actor node again. We're going to put this in a folder called references. Go ahead and compile that. With that done, we are going to get started working on the meat of what we are doing today. So first we're going to go to our item master, and that's actors, items, item master. Go to class settings, and in here search for item master or whatever you named your interface event. Go ahead and compile. And what we're going to do down here is we're going to add in 2 new events. The first will be a custom event, and this will be onConsumed. This is going to happen when this is going to trigger, and we're going to override this in the children classes of what happens when we consume an item. So we eat food, we're consuming it. We use a battery, we're consuming it. We shoot a bullet, we're consuming it. And it's going to have one input, and that will be our dear old friend of index ref. Let's just make that an integer. And we have nothing else for this. We're literally just going to have this a triggerable event that we override in our children of this class. We will then have our trigger pickup object. And this is really where we're going to spend a lot of our time today. So, part of that fix, the reason why we have this here, we're also going to have down here. And I'm going to show you a little bit of a bug. And the challenge for today is for you to work out a solution to that bug. And there is one really viable solution. But that said, and that is going to be on the event begin play, but that said, there's a backup solution that you can attach down here on our pickup. So, what we're going to do is we are going to get player character. We are going from our player character to get our inventory actor. And yes, I realize we have not yet set this event or this function up. We haven't implemented it, but we can still access it. So we're going to access it for now. We'll set it up later in this video, by the way. I'm going to plug that into there. So all we're doing is getting a reference to the inventory actor in the item. So this is how we're gonna use the player character to communicate between the item and the inventory. We want to check, is this valid? So is valid with the question marks. If it isn't valid, we can't add anything to the inventory. Then what we're going to do is we're going to pull off this inventory actor again, and we are going to run trigger item or add ItemMaster. We still again have to implement this one because we haven't actually implemented this yet in our inventory. What are we going to add in? Well, we're going to add in our item class. Just bring that down here. Now, I'm going to pause just for a moment. Now, in the original version of this, all we do is we plug in our add amount here. And we collapse this down to a function. What we are going to do is we are going to do that now instead of going through all of this. And what I want to do is I want to take my add amount, I'm going to put it to the side, and I'm going to plug that into there. I'm going to select everything but that add item amount. I'm going to right click and collapse the function, and this will be pick up object. Alright, now this is where things get a bit weird. And we're doing this because I know down the road I was going to make this update, but it's just easier to do it now. This in our parent is going in there. In our parent, we assume the amount to add is always going to be what we pick up. But let's say we have a tree with 100 pieces of wood we can pick up. Do we want to pick up 100 pieces of wood at a time, or say maybe only 5? And create a harvestable sort of cycle a player has to do. So we're going to override this in some of our children, or override this, or what we pin into here in some of our children. So imagine this is no longer just amount to add on the outside. When we're on the outside, what we are passing in is the amount we want to add, the amount we can add, not the amount that the item actually has anymore. All right, that's going to make what we're going to do next a little bit easier. So again, don't think about this as amount to add anymore. Think about this as the amount we can add. We are going to check, have we successfully added items? So we're going to put a branch in. Now, if you are going to always just have a default amount you want to add and you don't need this input, you can just put amount to add. And if this is true, you can destroy the item. If it's false, actually, sorry, that's not true. We want to know, is this true? If it's false, we do nothing. What we want to know next is then we need another branch. And yes, you can't do this as an and. This has to be 2 branches because we have different events if we've successfully added something or not, which is we have nothing. For our next one, we're going to have 2 different options here. What we want to know is what our amount remaining is. If you are not going to have it so that they can have pick up smaller amounts than what the item is offering, and then all you do is you check, is this greater than or less, or greater than or equal to 1. If it's a greater than or equal to 1, you plug that into there, and you continue on. If it's less than, you destroy the object. But because I know from my harvest system, I'm going to set it up so they can pick up, say, 5 pieces of wood at a time instead of what the entire tree is offering. I am going to have a check in place. So instead, I'm going to do a select node here. That in this case, actually the select node is actually going to have the same, is it less than or equal to 1? Because in either case, we're destroying the actor. But what we're checking is going to vary. So this is going to go backwards, unfortunately, because the true is on the bottom here. And this is going to be of a type Boolean, so we can see that this is true, this is false. In case 1, where things are true, what we are checking is if our amount to add is equal to the amount we want to pick up. If that is true, then we care about this amount remaining. If it is false, then we care about what we're going to do here. So let's work out that calculation. We are going to take from here, so the reroute coming in from the input amount to add, so the amount we pick up, we want to know, is this equal to the amount we actually have the item offering? Now, the reason why we're doing this in a function is because technically, yeah, that's amount to add on the outside. But we're going to think about it as amount to pick up. Is the amount we're trying to pick up equal to the amount we're trying to add? If it is, then we go in here. We're going to put some more reroutes in because, yeah, we have some stuff to do. All right. Let's just get another reroute there, actually. Let's line all those nodes up. If this happens, that they're equal, then we can just check if there's anything remaining. If not, we're going to flag this item to be destroyed. Now, what about this one? Once if these two aren't equal, what we're going to do there is we're actually going to toss in another reroute here first, and then move this way just a little bit. Move this one this way just a little bit as well. We are going to subtract from the amount the item is offering, which is the amount to add, by the amount that we have picked up. So again, remember, this entire thing is not item amount, it's amount to add. And actually, we'll change this. Ooh. You know what we're going to do, actually, is I've just thought of this. We're going to rename this variable as item amount. There we go. And this will become amount to add. Now, and again, the default case is the amount to add is the item amount. For some things, it won't be. And that's fine. And we'll create an override for that. So we're going to take from our item amount the amount we've added. And if that is greater than or equal to 1, we continue on. If it's less than 1, then we destroy the item. So let's set up our destroy event. I'm going to put another reroute in here because I know I'm going to need this node, by the way. So our way we're going to do our destroy isn't we're going to do destroy actor here. And there's a reason for that. We're going to need to have some events happen between when we actually destroy the actor and when we call the actor to be destroyed and when we add the item. Of course, they all happen in a tick, so we don't really see this. What we're going to do is do a return node here with one return value. This return value will be B, actor to be destroyed. And of course, because the B is a Boolean, there we go. We'll mark that as true. And then we're going to continue on with our true branch up here. We have to adjust the amount the item has now. Because we either have some remaining, or because we haven't picked up everything, we have some left. We're going to duplicate this select node over here. We are going to, that's actually the wrong select node, don't duplicate it. We're going to pull off of this, and we're going to do a select node off of this. And we are going to pull from our, is the amount we're trying to add equal to the item amount? Plug that into there. Put a lovely little reroute in. And here's the brilliant part about this. We have no more math we need to do. We've actually done all the math. If this is true, well, then all we're going to do is take this amount to add, or this amount remaining, and plug into the true. because we know what the amount remaining is. We picked up everything possible, but we still have some left over because our inventory is full. Alternatively, if the amount we're trying to add is equal to the amount the item has to offer, then we're going to have stuff left over that we didn't pick up. In fact, actually, I'm now thinking about this. We do have some math left to do because I just saw a slight mistake in my design here. We have to add that into the amount remaining. So we're going to pull off of this. If there's an amount remaining, okay, then we're adding that number in there. I'm actually going to put that in the B pen so I don't cross the wires as much as I'm about to. If this number is 0, then okay, whatever. We're not really doing anything with it. But let's say we were only for some reason able to pick up 7 or 5 of 10 branches, or 3 of 5 branches, and there were already 10 branches. The way to think about this is we try to pick up 5. We were only able to pick up 3. There were initially 10. So we're going to take 5 away from our 10. We then realize we only got 3 of those, so there's 2 more to add back in. And we're going to plug that into the false. At that stage, we are going to then return. And in this case, we are not destroying our actor, so leave that as false. Compile and save. We're going to tuck that under there. And the next thing we need to do is we need to check, do we need to destroy this actor? If we do need to destroy this actor, we're going to have some other events that go on down the road. Don't worry about that for now. But we are going to simply destroy actor. After we destroyed actor, we have one more thing we need to do. We're going to get player character. And I'm leaving player character over here for a little bit for a reason, because it's also going to be used in what we're calling up here later on. And we're going to do set is overlapping message. Leave that as false because we're no longer overlapping something. All right, there we go. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up actually calling this event. So if something isn't harvestable, we just want to automatically pick it up. I'm not sure what went on there, but okay. So what we're going to do is we are going to do trigger pickup object. It doesn't matter which ones of these you use, they're the same. You're still going to get this soft reference to ItemMaster. Well, we don't need to worry about initializing the soft reference because it's in itself and it can validate itself. It goes, yeah, I'm real, and somewhere in me is this trigger pickup event. Run it. Now let's go to our our inventory, and let's very quickly just implement the pickup event real quick that or the add item trigger that we've just done. So let's go to inventory, pop it open, go to interfaces, utility related. In utility related, we have this. We're just going to give ourselves some space. We can open our utility functions, plug that into there, and then just plug in the corresponding pins to the correct spots. There we go. We now have implemented our add item master as an interface event or interface function. The next thing we are going to do is create our harvest prompt widget. So very quickly, let's go to our core. Let's go to widget. I am going to deviate from my prep file, so this I hope works. We're going to have this outside of the inventory event. We're going to create a widget blueprint called WBP harvest prompt. All right, I'm just going to save everything, open that up, and in here what we are going to do for our harvest prompt is we are going to set to desired. We are going to get rid of our canvas, and we're going to create a size box. And I have, since I'm deviating from my prep file just a bit here, I don't know what the size box actually needs to be. So I'm just going to call this my harvest prompt size box. I'll take care of sizing it in just a moment. Yeah, we'll take care of sizing it in just a moment. Inside of our size box, I am going to have a border, and this will be my harvest prompt outer border, and I am going to set my outer border on my tint to have a value of 111 by 0.5. So if you just notice that little change in the center of the screen, it went kind of grayish. It's an off-white because it's translucent. I'm going to create another border, and this will be my harvest prompt inner border. And with both of our borders, actually, I'm going to... Oh, that padding is already at where I want it. That's good. I misread that. With our inner border, I am going to set my anchors also to 0. And on this one, I am going to, actually I might change that in a moment. I am going to change the colors of it to one of my grays, which is going to be 0.31 by 0.31 by 0.31 with an alpha of 0.5. At this point, I am now going to try just do a width override. I'm going to set this to 250 with a height override of 150. Ooh, that is way too big. A height override of 75. A height override of 50. I am not happy with any of those. 25. We'll actually get the size later on. What I'm doing is I'm trying to see the border, and I have not done the border correctly, so I'm going to redo my borders there. Interesting. I'm not a fan of that, so I'm going to use the darker inner border I tend to prefer. So for my inner border, I'm going to actually set this now to 0.073 by 0.073 by 0.073 with an alpha of 1. So we get that border effect around there with a lighter sort of color. I'm going to just change the alpha to 0.75 real quick. Yeah, no, we're leaving it at 1. All right, you can set those how you want. I just want this sort of bordered text effect. Inside of our harvest prompt in our inner border, we're going to have a WBP custom text. So we're going to use our text block there. And, okay, I'm going to address that in just a moment. This will be our harvest prompt text. Now we're going to put our dummy text in, and this dummy text will help us work out stuff. Press, quote, E, quote, or single quote, to harvest foodstuffs. Okay, let's go to our size box, set this back to 50. There we go. That actually is starting to look more correct to me. And we are going to do a width override of 350. 500, 600, 550 it is. Actually, what we'll do is we will do this at 750 for now. We're going to take our text and we're going to center align it. That way we have some room on either side for longer or shorter phrases. We'll leave everything else as is. We'll compile this and save it. We'll go to our event graph on the script here, and what we will do is we will create a, actually we're going to go into back to here, we're going to create a binding for this text, and it's going to be get prompt text. What we'll do is we will get our controller, and don't worry, we will set this variable elsewhere. So it's our controller selection, and this is our player controller in terms of, or the controller our player is using. So it's our E controller selection from section 1. We will switch based on this because we will tell them different buttons to press based on what they're doing. For now, we are just going to use some dummy text. But to save ourselves some time, I'm actually going to start over here so we can get the local variable set up. I'm going to pull off of here. I'm going to do a format text. It is going to say press space curly bracket input curly bracket to close to, and then we're going to have an action curly bracket and then space item. I'm saying space so you know that there are spaces between these, because otherwise if you don't put the space in, even with these inputs, they're going to join them together. So our input will be an input text local. Oh, I can't promote the variable that way. Okay, so input text local. This will be of type, well, you've guessed it, text. Just plug that into input. Let's set our input on this switch over here, and the first one will be for our mouse and keyboard, quote or single quote E. Duplicate that node down here. For our gamepad, it will be a X, because that is on the PS4 controller and PS5 controller, the cross button. So it's just a placeholder. We are then going to get our item details, which we need to get from somewhere. So item details, and we'll talk about setting this as well with our item controller. We are going to search for our item details. We are going to get it. We are going to break this. We need 2 of the pins from here. So just move that to the side for a moment. We need our item name. That goes into item over here. And for our action, what we are going to do is get the category. So we're going to switch on the primary category. Plug that into there. Put a reroute in if you want, or just plug in directly the execute pin. Going to select that node again. Hide unconnected pins. Tuck that under there. Tuck that under there. Move this to the side. We're going to create one more local text, and this is our action text local of clearly type text. And we're just going to set that over here. And then we will set the values for this. So for our consumables, for our typical consumables, it will be harvest. Plug that into there. Ooh, we have to move these down, sadly. That did not go the way I wanted it to. Sorry, I'm just trying to line things up so it's a bit easier to see. There we go. And then we'll duplicate this down here. And for our weapon, our equipment, and our tool, we will have the same prompt, which is pickup. Put a reroute in here, plug that into there, compile, save, and now we're going to create one function called update prompt variables. This is because I'm deviating, I'm guessing at the name convention I want to use. We'll set our controller type. Actually, it's not up. Yeah, no, it's going to be update. No, because I'm going to call it set prompt variables. All right, and then do the same for item details. Plug that into there. Plug that into there. Put a reroute in to make this a little bit easier to read. Add a return node. All right, now compile, save. Go to your main UI. Oh, that was the inventory UI. Ooh, no. Main UI, and we're going to actually call our harvest prompt here. There we go. What we're going to do with our harvest prompt is we're going to center this on the screen. So I'm just going to do my center node there, and I am going to move the position to 0, the X to 0, set this to 100. Ooh, no, size to content. I lied to you, size to content. We'll set the alignment to 0.5 so it is centered. We will set visibility to hidden. All right, next, what we are going to do is we are going to create a trigger event in the graph here. So go back to, ooh, wow, there's a lot of things still open. Let's move that to the side here, close all tabs to the right, and we will do custom event display prompt. Custom event hide prompt. And again, I'm doing this by the seat of my pants without a prep file with this in the prep file. We are going to take this, we're going to put it in the category of components. We are going to first get this. We are going to do our set prompt variables. I still haven't passed that in. We are going to actually not move that there, put a reroute in. We are going to set visibility to visible. We are going to just line this up a bit better first. Bring that down there. Move this here. Copy all of these nodes down here. Set this to hidden. And we're actually done with this one. And actually, this shouldn't be visible, but hit test invisible, which is the not hit testable child one. This one, what we're going to do is actually pass that into there. So we're passing this information into the display prompt. I actually had already worked that out in my head, and I totally forgot. All right, now we need to call all of this in our character, everything we've just done. So go to core, go to character, open up your first person character, and what we're going to do here in our first person character is we're going to find our things over here. We can get rid of these print strings. Oh, thank God, right? So we're getting the item actor and the item details from the item itself. It's being passed in. We've already set that up. What we're going to do is get a reference from our main UI. And what is it? Trigger pickup. Hang on. I don't have in the prep file. I actually don't have the name. Display prompt. So we have display prompt. All right. Item details can go straight into there. Plug that into there. And let's go to our controller, go to our master, and get controller type. Plug that into there. There we go. Oh, I hope that works, because I've never tested this before. This goes here, and we are going to set a new Boolean variable called isHarvestable_target. So B is harvestable target. I actually am going to need more room down the road, so that's going to just go that way for now. We're going to set that as true. And then on the end harvest prompt, we'll take our UI and we name this hide prompt. So hide prompt, plug that into there. And actually what we're going to do is something first. We're going to just duplicate this down here, make this false. What we want to do is we actually want to take some steps before we do the display. So we're actually going to break this, and we're going to break this. I got ahead of myself. I went, ooh, we're nearly there, but I lied. We are going to promote this actor to a variable, and this will be our harvest item ref. And I guess I need a little bit more room. And we're going to promote this to a variable, item details ref. And both of these will go into my references category. Let me just pin that into there. Put a reroute in here. Line those up a bit better. Collapse to function. This will be our set harvest item. And the pins will be our item details and our item actor. All right, like I said, these are references, so let's put them into the reference category. The set harvest we will put into a character settings category, not game settings. Do I have a character? I don't have a character settings. Character settings. Okay, we can now plug this back into there. We can move this closer, and we can use the item details from here. All right. Now, notice that in here that they're blanked out. Actually, really, we should keep this the same type, but meh, whatever. It will reset every time we call it. So next, what we're going to do down here on our player is we are going to check if the harvestable actor is still valid. And this prevents some bugs. So pull off of here, is valid with a question mark. Plug the execute pin into there. By the way, the only difference between the is valid with a question mark and the other one is it's a pure function versus this macro we have. And plug that into there. All right. Now, we have our harvest action. And this one, what we're going to do is we're going to check, are we on a harvestable target? So we want this bool, which we haven't categorized yet. So bools. Why did I make one of these plural and not the references? Whatever. Put a branch in. And because we have a object reference that, can call a certain event, we're going to use that object to call that certain event. So we're going to get our harvest item, which is a actor. That actor is being filled by the item master, or the item we're trying to pick up. And we're going to do trigger pickup object. And then we are going to set our harvest item here. So really quickly, we're going to just start commenting some of these out. This is set if player is overlapping. By the way, if you haven't worked out, the fact I'm commenting things out means we're nearing the end of this section. when overlapping provides player a prompt to pick up item. All right, I'm just gonna line those up a bit better. And we have when no longer overlapping. Yeah, I have no change to how I'm doing my cases. Prompt is removed. Doesn't really matter, it's a comment. And then finally, this is pick up items that player has chosen to pick up. One of the nice things is I can see the typos I made in my last record file and kind of laugh at myself. All right, let's go ahead and test this out. Oh, I hope this works. So let's walk up to the item, press E to harvest. I actually don't like that. I like my original version of it better. Let's press E. Ooh, okay, what's going wrong here? So we're gonna just double check something. I already know what's going wrong. I skipped something. What I skipped was, in our interface references, we don't have this set. So let's get our inventory actor, because that's not valid. Now it's valid. And let's test this out. All right. Press E, open up. We had that white cube there, and the slot is active when the other slots aren't. The cube is white because we haven't given it an icon. But hey, we have proof that our pickup system is working. Again, let's do one more test. Walk up to the item, press E, walk away, press E. I'm not picking it up. There we go. It is working. I am just going to very quickly fix one thing that is driving me up the wall. I am going to go to my prompt here, and I'm actually going to change this to a 0.25. And I am going to go to the lighter gray on the, oh, sorry, no. Yeah, the outer border. The inner border, I am going to go to my 0.5. And I am actually going to shift this back to the other gray I like using, which is 0.31. By 0.31, by 0.31. I think it just looks better. Yeah, I like that look a little bit better. We need to do one more thing in the test. Let's open up our test item here. Let's open our item details. Let's give it a name of test cube. Compile, save. We need to make sure the name shows up. That's the only thing we haven't seen. There we are. Press E to harvest test cube. I was wondering why it looks so weird to me. All right. So we have our event set up. I am just going to fiddle with the colors. It don't matter too much. The colors are whatever you're happy with. I'm going to go back to 0.5 on that. And now that we have this done, we can start creating items to really test this with. And if you've enjoyed working on your inventory system, if you've enjoyed confirming that your inventory system works, make sure to hit that like button down below. And in the next videos, we'll work on our items. We'll work on our menu so we can actually use our items. I need to remove that event. And if you want to be here when we do that, make sure to hit the subscribe and notify bell. If you don't hit the notify bell, YouTube might not tell you when that video is out. If you want a copy of this project, consider becoming a Patreon supporter. Patreon supporters at upper tiers get instant access to any ongoing YouTube project. At other tiers, Patreon supporters get access once the YouTube project is completed. Or hey, if you just want to support this channel, because you like the content, you like what I'm doing, you want to give me a little bit of a hand on just getting materials, new mics, better recording software, etc., or paying for licenses for my recording software, then consider becoming a Patreon sponsor. This video has been brought to you by Patreon sponsors like Rian, Haynes, and Quad Menson. That said, I look forward to seeing you in the next tutorial, and I hope that you have a wonderful day.